Welcome to worship at the McPherson Church of the Brethren. We are an open and affirming congregation that strives to be hospitable and attentive to all of creation. We do not always meet that goal, and we have our share of ups and downs. But in the midst of it all, we continue to listen to God's call on our individual lives and the life of this congregation. We continue to seek to follow Jesus, peacefully, simply, together. We are humbled you have chosen to worship with us. Welcome.
Good morning. What a nice, cool morning. Did you feel refreshed when you walked out? It's just lovely out this morning. This is the Church of the Brethren, and we welcome all of you to our worship this morning, including on Channel 13 and on YouTube. How many of you know somebody who watches church online? It's amazing the reach that happens here in town and houses around and then on YouTube. Anyway, we're glad to have you here. This is our time that we share with each other. Are there announcements?
Kirk McGregor, tomorrow evening in room 212 of Moeller at 7 p.m. We will have our first installment of Reasonable Faith for the academic year. The topic will be, how can we historically understand the Bible? I look forward to seeing you there.
Good morning. My name is Kendra Flory, and I just want to extend an invitation to our first official Caring for Common Ground gathering this afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock, just here down below the sanctuary. It is approximately going to be every other week, but it will flux and we'll be putting out information. But it is a spiritual exploration of ecological restoration. So we'll be doing activities and conversations, doing some readings, and of course, spending time out in nature and cultivating a deeper relationship with the earth. So we invite everyone to come. And also, we will be using the book Braiding Sweetgrass, and we do have some more books. So if you have interest in having that book, you can come see me after church, and I can get you one.
David Fruth, next Sunday morning about 6 a.m., a bunch of us are going to meet at the Cedars Wellness Center, getting ready to take a bus trip to the National Older Adult Conference in Lake Junaluska, North Carolina. There are going to be 44 on the bus eventually, and so we're looking forward to the trip. It's interesting, there are going to be 31 from our congregation going, and including Carlene Tyler, who's going to drive it. She is on this planning committee, and those are always well done, and I'm sure they've done a good job for this year. The theme is God is doing a new thing from Isaiah. When you get there, the Lake Junaluska and the Smoky Mountains is a beautiful place. Bible study, keynote speakers, workshops, worship, bus trips, ice cream, service projects, etc. Lots of fellowship on the bus and the continued inspiration. So what I get from the conference mostly is, you may be old, but you're not done yet.
So is it Carlene's fault that we have to get on the bus so darn early? Any other announcements? We're glad to hear that Ken is out of the hospital and back at his home.
Tricia Hartshorn, and I just wanted to introduce Bruce Stuckey, who is visiting with us today, sitting here in front of me.
And I think we see some college students around. Just to let you know that you're invited to WCW, where we have a free meal. Other announcements? Then let us join our hearts together and worship God.
I was once a sinner, but I came, pardon to receive from my Lord. This was freely given, and I found that He always kept His word. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine, oh yes, it's mine. And the white-robed angels sing the story, a sinner has come home. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine, oh yes, it's mine. With my sins forgiven, I am bound for heaven, never more to roam. I was humbly kneeling at the cross, fearing naught but God's angry frown. When the heavens opened and I saw that my name was written down, written down. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine, oh yes, it's mine. And the white-robed angels sing the story, a sinner has come home, has come home. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine, oh yes, it's mine. With my sins forgiven, I am bound for heaven, never more to roam. With my sins forgiven, I am bound for heaven, never more to roam.
Thank you, Inspire. We're always grateful when you sing. I'm going to out you a little bit. They were having a discussion this morning about the last time they sang in worship, and it's been over a year. It was a year ago. It was in March of 2022. So, Kara, you want to come up? You have an announcement?
Sorry, I was in the back. And just a late announcement. Becky Snell wasn't feeling well this morning, but she wanted you all to know that choir practice is starting the 6th of September, and we've changed the time. It's going to be at 6:45 and meet here in the sanctuary. Thank you.
And I might add an addendum to that. We also have decided to change the Wednesday meal, just truncate it a little bit to still serve at 5:30, but try and finish up at 6:15, and that'll let everybody who's we know going to hang out and help us clean up have a half an hour before choir so we can all help clean up the kitchen and the space, and then get up for choir and get over to kids' activities and youth activities at 6:15. So if you'll see that schedule in the newsletter. If you're not receiving a newsletter, feel free to call the front office, and they'll just take your email, and you'll get that every Friday morning. It releases at 7 a.m. every Friday morning. A big thank you to Inspire for Ellen and Dawn modeling the hymn. They did the centering music and they sang, "May You Be Rooted and Grounded." Again, we're learning some songs out of the new Mennonite hymnal, and we'll be singing that later, so at least you've heard it once at this point. I invite you at this time to join me in our unison opening prayer. God, you have created us as members of your body here on earth. Through your word, may we learn to break down the barriers that divide us from one another. As we respond to your call on our lives, may we be united in our common allegiance to you. Grant us compassion and humility in all our relationships. Release the gifts you have given to each one, so that in us and through us, your kingdom might come, and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Amen. Please rise and join in singing with one voice. You may recall that we started, go ahead and rise. You may recall that we started singing this song when we launched our new strategic plan, and we thought this was such an appropriate song and the text so appropriate. So every now and then we pull it out, and we'll do that this morning with one voice. while you're being seated, would the children come forward for the children's time with Barbara?
Right. How's everybody? Good? Hey, can I sit beside you two? Right in the middle? Okay, we'll go that way. I have lots of bags this morning. Everything's gonna fall out. How's school?
Good.
Kind of getting into the routine again? Getting up early?
Good.
Yep, I'm caught. There we go. Okay. So, hey, it's good to have everybody here. About a month or so ago, I gave you presents. Do you remember that?
No.
And some of you opened, I don't think you were here. Some of you opened, what was it? The cleaning stuff, yeah. Remember? You opened them up and you thought it was going to be something really cool, and it was because it was cleaning stuff. Did anybody ever use your presents at home? No? No? Did you? Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Okay. Well, so today, I don't have presents. I have gifts. Okay? So, what do you think is in my gift bags?
Stuff to help people.
Could be stuff to help people, maybe.
Cleaning stuff.
Not today. Not cleaning stuff today.
Random stuff you didn't need anymore.
Random stuff I didn't need anymore. Okay. You know what? I've got a lot of that. You need to come over. I'll give you some. Okay. It's not. They're gifts. Do you know that God gives us gifts? God gives us gifts. And I'm wondering if in these bags is something that maybe God has given to us. I don't know. Do you want to open one? Take out the paper, see what's in the bag. Do you girls want to do? Ooh, yours is heavy. It must be a really good one. You want to do one? You three can do one. You want to do one? Here. What do we have?
What? This kitchen.
It's kitchen. What's it say on it?
Brown cinnamon.
Cinnamon. Oh,
Probably something.
do you like your gifts? Yeah, you do? You do? So we have flour, we have sugar. Oh, I thought you were going to help them. I'm sorry. You know what? We've got one more coming up later, okay? We have, what did you girls get? Do you know what it is?
Yep.
Baking soda. Baking soda. So we have flour, we have cinnamon, we have sugar, we have baking soda.
And also a doll.
Oh, she brought her own doll, yeah.
I thought that's
Do you think those are gifts from God?
I don't sure.
Sure, you think so?
I mean, it's made out of plants.
Yeah, you're going, no, I don't think so.
Except they're all from the kitchen.
They're all from the kitchen, yeah. So when we say we have gifts from God, what do you think that means? Obviously not this kind of gift. You think it means you get things from the kitchen. Dane, what are you thinking?
I can make something.
Oh, so maybe God helps us make something? Okay. Do you know what? I want you to look at all these people out here. Wave to them if you want to. Do you know what? All these people have a gift from God. Yeah, you want me to hold that? It is kind of heavy. We'll just put it back in the bag. You want us to get back in the bag? There we go. Whew, we don't want to make a mess in here, do we? Okay. All these people have a gift from God. You're here too, so that means you have a gift from God. So I want you to think about this. This morning, we had some beautiful music, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah. Do you think their voices are a gift from God? Yeah? When Ellen plays the piano and the organ, do you think that's a gift from God? I think so. I definitely can't do any of those things. Look up there at those people up there. Okay, they're running those computers. I can't do that. That's not a gift from God that I have, but they have it. When our pastors talk and they preach to us and they tell us about God, that's a gift from God, that they're able to do that. So when all of these people get together and they put their gifts from God together, what do we have Sunday mornings? We have worship. And we have meaningful worship. And it fills our hearts and fills our heads with God. And we're ready to go out and face the world. Okay? At home, you have your family. Think about your family. Does your family, each one of you, have a different gift that you can give to your family? Yeah. And school, do each one of you in your classroom have a gift you can give? Yeah. Sometimes it's laughter. Sometimes it's hugging a friend when they don't feel very well. Sometimes it's obeying our teacher even if we don't want to, and we have to do something we don't like. Those are all gifts from God that we're able to do that. Okay? So now I'm wondering if we put our sugar, our cinnamon, our baking soda, and our flour, all of these gifts that I have in the bag, if we put them together, what do you think we could create?
A cake.
A cake, we could. What else? Any other ideas? What do you think? Hey, do you want to see what's in our last bag?
Ooh, last bag.
Last bag. Let's see what we can do. Pie dough, we could do that. Oh, what do we have?
Cookies.
Cookies. So, when we put all our gifts together, can we make something sweet and delicious?
Yeah, cookies.
We can.
Or cake.
So you know what? As you leave, you're going to put your gifts from God back in the bag so I can take those home. You're going to pass over there, and he's going to give you a cookie. How's that? Okay? And I will see you guys next week. Be good gifts of God. Okay? I have it. Okay, make sure you get your cookies before you leave.
Thank you for your continued financial donations. You may give online at macbrethren.org. That's maccobb@macbrethren.org. If you are worshiping with us in person, you may place your gift in the offering box at the back of the sanctuary. Just slip it through the slot in the top of the box. Or you may mail your gift to the church office at 200 North Carey Street, McPherson, Kansas 67460. Or hand deliver your check to the church office. Just push it through the mail slot at the education building. If you join our worship from afar, please donate to local needs in your area. Thank you for sharing.
Our scripture focus this morning comes from Paul's letter to the Roman church, Romans 12, verses 1 through 8. I had the joy of writing an exegesis on this very section in seminary, and I won't bore you with the 50-page exegesis that came out of that. Please have no fear, you will be out on time. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, God's pleasing and perfect will. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts, according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, give generously. If it is to lead, lead diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. This morning, as I made my way to my office, I noticed something different about the parking lot. There were a lot more vehicles already in place. And at first I thought maybe I had missed an alarm and I was already late for worship. But no, college is back in session. And what a joy it is to have the campus hustling and bustling with so much energy. Last Sunday, Raina and I decided to be a part of the moving in process for returning students. And as we made our way over there, as campus was just flowing like ants marching on the sidewalk, we noticed something really profound. Everyone had a different part to play in welcoming students back. We sat in Miller Library, where I explained to Raina, I actually did spend a lot of time in the library when I was in college. Truly. And I gave her a tour, and I showed her what for me was always my favorite place to look at the campus. I call it the second floor. At the top level, there's a big, huge bay window that looks out on campus. And I used to spend time up there with books in front of me. Whether or not they were open, I'm not going to share. But I had books in front of me, and I could stare at the campus. And we did that, and we saw more people moving. And I was in awe of just how much it takes every single person on campus to welcome new students, and how the welcome must have felt like they were leaving home but moving into a different home. As much as I saw all this, as a person who's worked on campus before, I knew that there were others who were behind the scenes. I knew there were grounds people who had mowed the lawn to make sure it was perfect. I knew there were the folks who took care of the gardens to make sure they were immaculate. I knew there were those who got dots ready after the renovation to make sure the move-in was seamless. And though they may not be the face that everyone gets to greet when they step on the campus, without them, the place is not nearly as holy and sacred. I share that because that's what happens when community is at its best. Each part playing a role, and each part recognizing its significance, and each person feeling worthy and valuable and seen. Maybe not to the front of the organization. Not everybody can sit in the president's office. Not everyone could be a dean. A little side note, I told Raina, I spent a lot of time in the dean office. I don't recommend that. I wasn't there for the right reasons. And she thought, she didn't find humor in that either. She just shook her head and shared, well, maybe if you spent more time in the library and less in the dean's office, you might have graduated on time. My 12-year-old daughter's got a future as a comedian, apparently. But as we talk about this, not everyone gets to be the person in the office. Not everyone gets to stand behind a podium and teach. Not everyone gets to have a nice place that's their own on campus. But everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a part to make sure the story continues moving forward. Everyone is a character in the drama and the tale that is McPherson College. I share that because thankfully, another year has begun. Thankfully, we get to see and feel the energy flowing from the sacred ground to the east of us. And I share that because times that aren't that different. Technology may have helped us evolve and move into something more efficient, but times haven't changed a whole lot. It still takes everyone to make an organization move. And it's still this hierarchy of roles that exist. Back in the letter to the Romans, Paul was dealing with something not dissimilar to our world today. And I might pull Kurt aside one day and make sure that I'm exegeting this well. But in Paul's day, what he's addressing is you have this church in Rome. And for those that understand Mediterranean Roman culture, there's a social hierarchy that existed. And it depended upon your economic status, your status in society, on just how high you would be at the top of that hierarchy. And if by chance you happen to have been a conquered people, let's say a diasporan Jew, well, you were at the bottom of that hierarchy, often relegated to jobs that were seen as less worthy. Jobs only served for those and saved for those who were less than desirable. Let's let migrant persons do those jobs because those jobs are just not worthy of citizens. Times haven't changed. They've just looked a little different. And so you have this house in Rome, this worship space where those who are seen as less than because they do those undesirable jobs are forced to worship in a separate space, sit at a different table, because those who were raised in that hierarchy didn't know a lot of difference. That's how they were taught. It existed. And so the Roman elite sat at one table in a different space and those who cleaned the gutters and the toilets and the sewage system sat in a different place, all worshiping the same God, sharing the same faith, following the same Jesus. Now, this isn't unique to Rome. Many of Paul's letters deal with this hierarchy, the separation, the segregation based on economics, religious differences, ethnic differences. But in Rome, Paul is really kind of gentle with them. He's kind of nice on the way he deals with it. He doesn't call them out. He doesn't, as we talked about last week, he doesn't shame anyone. He tries to bridge the gap between the two. He delicately dances, trying to help them understand that the way of God, the way of Jesus, is a different way of being. It's a different way of acting. It's a different way of living together in unity, sharing the same space, not separated by economics or ethnicity, race, or even religion. That at God's table, all are welcome. At God's table, all play a role. At God's table, each party is significant and worthy and seen. One of my favorite parts of this text and the focus that I had for my exegesis were the verses 6 through 8. And I'll rehearse them again for you today. We have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy. Do it, Paul says, in accordance with your faith. If your faith is small, large, it doesn't matter. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then do so generously. If it is leading, then do so diligently. If it is to show mercy, do so cheerfully. Paul is telling the Roman people, the Roman church, you each must connect to one another and share your gifts. There isn't a hierarchy in God's kingdom of which gift is more important than the other. Each is significant, each is important, each is vital to the organization, the church's survival, to fulfill its calling to honor its ministry. Things haven't changed a whole lot, have they? We still rely upon all working together side by side, offering their gifts so that this organization can move forward. That the way of Jesus is a way of working together. The way of Jesus is serving God by standing, sitting, helping one another together. Not despite our differences, folks. This isn't about trying to look beyond what separates us, but by celebrating and honoring them, as they are all illustrations of God's plan for humanity. God's table is an open invitation for all to sit and to break bread. The more diverse it is, the more beautiful it becomes, the more language is spoken, the more questions asked, the more differences that are highlighted and celebrated, the more beautiful and more Christ-like the table becomes. But it takes all of us working together to make this happen. It takes the members who can buy the food, and it takes the folks working in the markets to sell the food. It takes the person setting up the tables and cooking the meals, and it takes those to clean up and to put stuff away. None of these roles matter more than the others. None play a more significant part than the others. None is more celebrated than one or another. But all must work in unison and be honored at God's table. Each of us being recognized. Because no single person, whether in the Church of Rome or today's church, carries each gift that is necessary to help the church to move and to grow and to become all that God calls it to be. We have to recognize the necessity and the link to each other. We have to reach out and hold the hands of our sisters and brothers to ensure that the church can live out its mission and its calling to be Jesus in the neighborhood. What I'm about to do is complicated, and I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody. And if I do, as I get older, my memory is definitely not my gift anymore. And so if I miss someone, I apologize. It is not unique. It is not intentional. It's simply a mistake. What we're going to do now is something we should do every year, and is honor those who give of their gifts in this setting to ensure that we, like the church in Rome, continue to move forward. So what does it take today to be a healthy, vibrant church? It takes a leadership team chair in Leela, someone who absolutely leads with kindness and grace and mercy. And those of us who've had the privilege of sitting and learning from her, we know that she honors that calling well. Thank you, Leela. By the way, if you want to clap or applause, that's fine. It's a celebration. But Leela is not alone. It takes each person who serves on the leadership team and as a chair of individual teams. Their leadership is truly a diligent gift and service to God. So if you are present and you serve on a team chair, please rise. Not everyone knows who you are. Please stand so that we can honor you and applaud you and thank you for your gift. If you are a leadership team chair or serve on a leadership team, please stand. Seriously, stand so we can honor you. It's okay. But it is more than that. There are those who work behind the scenes, setting tables, cooking food, planning events, those who sit with students, those who study curriculum, to work with Ukrainian families, to build small houses, to keep the lights on and the air conditioning running. Thank God, unlike the high school HVAC system this week, and those persons who keep us on budget. It takes all of you making sure we move forward to create safe spaces for all. So if you currently serve on any team, hospitality, youth team, faith formation, finance, properties, caregiving ministers, outreach, or a worship team, if you serve on one of these teams, will you please stand at this time so we can thank you and honor you? Your role may not be as visible, but we are not who we are without you. There are still more pieces to honor. So if you're on the gifts assessment team, the personnel team, or the pastoral relations team, it is your turn to stand and be recognized for your hard work. Please rise. We see you and we thank you. And there are those who never or rarely ever get the chance to have the camera on them. And so tech team, I wish I had a camera to truly shine the light on you. I know, Steve, I know. I see you shaking your head, protesting loudly. But to the tech team, we cannot reach the multitudes without your gifts and your service, your dedication and your craft. Will you at least stand so that we can honor you and thank you for your service? That includes the two camera people. I want you to take a look around. I want you to look at the sacred space that we inhabit. I want you to know that not every church you walk in, even within the Church of the Brethren, is as immaculate and as spotless as the one that we get to join and sit together with on a Sunday morning. This is because Cheryl Hammerlin comes in with hours that we can't even begin to recognize. And Eric Johnson put in hours beyond our recognition to make sure that our space is hospitable and welcoming and warm. Cheryl, I don't know that Eric is here. Will you please stand so that we can honor you and thank you? We are almost done, folks. I know this may not be the typical Brethren service, but if we're going to talk about gifts and honoring them, this is what we must do. There are other folks who don't always get a lot of press, but without them, worship just isn't the same. Ellen playing the piano or the organ, Carolyn leading the kids' bell choir, Becky guiding the vocal choir, Kendra Flory managing the bells, those who sit with children illustration and create powerful children's stories better than any sermon I can craft, Don and Barb. Will you all please stand if you're present so we can thank you? Linda Neer takes amazing notes. If you've ever seen it, it is because of her ability to capture every minute and every detail of leadership that we don't miss a beat. Linda, thank you. Will you please stand so we can recognize you? A few more. Okay, if you know me well, you know that I cannot balance a budget. It's a running joke in our family and amongst others. But finances are an essential part of any organization, especially a church. At this time, will Carolyn Masterson and Janet Garing please stand, because without their ability to crunch numbers, the complex budget that is would be mismanaged and we would be lost. Please stand so we can honor you. Finally, we have a beautiful thing here, and that is we are a team. And no ministry is successful without peers and teammates that are willing to put their egos aside for a common goal. And Catherine has stepped out because she's doing what she does best, serving others. Catherine honors that call to the core of her being. Her faith guides her and helps all of us see just how much God has put her in a place for such a time as this. I wish you were here so that as she stands, we could all look at her and thank her for her willingness to go the extra mile to help us in our calling. When you get a chance, please do so. Thank her today. And finally, if you have ever volunteered in a meal, preparing a meal, cleaning up a meal, if you've ever done announcements for worship, if you've ever served on a team, if you've ever mentored a student, if you have ever offered your time or your talent so our church can honor its call, if you've ever taught a class voluntarily for church folks to be at this time, will you please stand? If you've ever done any of that, please stand. Dan, that includes those who play the piano on volunteer basis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It takes all of us. It takes all of us. I invite you now to once again look around. Look around at your sisters and brothers. I want you to breathe deep the holiness that God is inhabiting in this space. And I want you to recognize the joy that comes with working with sisters and brothers who not only share our faith, and maybe they don't share our faith exactly, but they share a common vision of what it means and how we can be Jesus in the neighborhood. God is good, and you are good, and we thank you for your willingness to help us honor our call. Amen. Please rise for our singing song.
May you be rooted and grounded in love, strengthened in the Spirit through faith, to know the light and death.
Please be seated. To McPherson College students and those who've been gone for the summer and now ready for a new year to begin, welcome back. As we kick off on Wednesday with Reconnect Wednesday and youth groups, and though Mac Kids doesn't officially start, Mac Kids are absolutely, hopefully going to be there Wednesday. I'm going to put a plug in. We all must work together to make sure these vibrant ministries continue to thrive. We need you still. We do. We need you to help us continue the work of Jesus, to be Jesus in the neighborhood. And I think I can speak on behalf of those who help on Wednesday evening specifically. Though it is a lot of work, there's a lot of joy in that work. It is amazing to watch the dancing and the singing and the chaos at times, but it is truly a faith-filled experience. So may we all have the courage to say yes and to give our gifts in a way that is in accordance with our faith. And may we continue to be Jesus in the neighborhood. Amen.